Hi again, this is Mike, the Philosopher Engineer. Today I want to take a deeper dive into this topic, psychology and philosophy. So this is Mike's executive conversation. I want to dive in deeper because this is probably the most important topic we have to deal with. In work, we're trying to gather information, design things, make decisions, and really break things down and go through that loop. And we often do that as a team. So we have to work together, understand things, build a knowledge base, and from that make decisions. And the better decisions we make, the better results we have. So this is a really important topic. But the reason I wanted to focus on psychology and philosophy is because whether we're at work or we're at home, whether we're dealing with a project or we're thinking about things in the world, we always have both of these in play. The psychology, it's our own psychology and everyone else's psychology, and the philosophy. And the way I'm going to describe that, sort of layman's level, I don't have a PhD in either subject. I'm not a professor in psychology or philosophy, but the basics, the fundamentals of psychology really focus on the ego and the behaviors and the drives, the biases and emotions, all these things that affect the way we perceive things. And those can interfere with our ability to, patiently, with an open mind, analyze the situation and make a decision and overcome our own bias. So it's really a big topic. And the philosophy is kind of our process. That's how we reason, how we look at data, how we remain logical. So it really uses, and it's also like the math. It's a process. So you can have a mathematical process. You can have a proper logic, and that whole process helps you look at a situation and make a good decision. And before you make that decision, you're trying to build a knowledge base. Now, what's interesting is the psychology is almost more your instinct, your immediate reaction that comes from your behavior, where your philosophy is really how you think about it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you had to make a decision very quickly. Well, if you were looking at it from a philosophy standpoint, you would want as much time as you could have. If you had to make the decision, you'll make it, but you really wish you had more time. So it's a very patient process. Whereas the psychology side of us, the bias, we might already have an instinct. I like this, I don't like that. It's like an opinion. And opinions, especially if you make a snap decision or come to opinion almost immediately, maybe it's based on your life experience, that tends to fall more into your behavior. And so that's okay. But the first level is accepting that reality. So whether it's us individually or how we work with others in a work situation, we have both of those in play all the time. We have our drives, our biases, and our emotions and everything else. And what we want to do is be honest about that. Just accept that that's part of what we have. But we want a process that allows us to go through and overcome those biases, challenge our own biases, and really try to make it more of an evidence-based approach. We really consider the data. We're open to things that may not seem reasonable, so we have to be very open-minded, even if that takes a conscious effort. And when we do and we look at other things, we may discover that some of our assumptions were not right. And assumptions can get you into a lot of trouble. So as a team, we can challenge each other, and if we have a spirit of collaboration and openness, we may find that we're learning some new things that we would have dismissed. So, assumptions really interfere with our ability to understand a problem. And when we're working in technology, new product design, we're often dealing with things we haven't done before, we may not have experience. As an inventor, we're dealing with inventions, which sort of by definition are new. So it really takes a little bit of open-mindedness and creativity to look at these things. As a team, we can go through that in a process and not only just talk about what we think or what our position is, but really how we think. Let's talk about the process. Let's talk about the assumptions. Let's talk about the data. As a leader, so at the executive level, when you're putting teams together, you're really trying to help encourage the people in your organization to accept the fact that we're dealing with psychology and bias and ego and all these things, but yet work on a process where we can drive through that. And then we make decisions because they have to be made. Some have to be made very quickly, so we have to be decisive. Others, it's important we don't make them too early. We want them to be based on, collecting information, analyzing the quality of that information and its pertinence to our problem, and then quantifying all that information to make a decision. So we're really constantly understanding the technology we're working on. And we really want to have an understanding of the first principles too. So we want the right expertise in those cases. So hopefully that's helpful, but the idea here is to kind of first start with the acknowledgement and acceptance of this is the reality. In fact, I'll add a little bit more to that, and that is that, I mean, the psychology is probably has a bigger impact on how we behave than the philosophy. So we want to manage through that process. We're in a society where, unfortunately, I mean, this is not a conspiracy, it's just a reality, that there's an incentive to get us to react. So if someone wants to sell a product to us, they want to connect with our ego, with our behavior. That's just kind of fundamental public relations. You can call it propaganda if you want, but the goal is for the people that want to sell to us is to influence us at the gut level, at the subconscious level. And so that makes it even more difficult in our work to be aware of that and not fall into that same pattern. So as a group, we really have to focus on that. And then the philosophy, this is not always taught really well in college nowadays because a lot of the subjects are more specialized. And so almost like vocational training. But really the philosophy is how to handle that information, how to apply that information. So it's how we think, not what we think. And even engineers, and I say engineers are people too, we still have the psychology and the behavior and the ego, although engineers might have the stereotype of being, more objective. But we need to be realistic about that. Now, the philosophy part nowadays in modern universities is often not even taught. Classical logic, 100 years ago it was, but we have to think about how we take the knowledge we have and apply that and organize it. So that's what really philosophy is all about, and that's why I talk about it so much. So just to wrap up, I know I've kind of gone on a little bit longer, but psychology, philosophy, let's accept those as a reality. Let's talk about how to manage that better. And then as we navigate through all those behaviors and we communicate in a very open way and a transparent way, that we make decisions in kind of a process that we've thought through. And we make them at the right time and based on the right evidence and not on, our opinions. If we have an opinion-driven process to make a decision, we're probably going to lose. So we don't want to lose. So we have to kind of fight that tendency to bias, and bias comes from many places. All right, so again, here also at a high level, we're talking about the right people and right process and the right product. Really want that right process to work together with people. And in that same behavior, and one of the reasons that we focus on predictive index and other psychometric metrics is that when you match a person's behavior with their role, they're going to perform better. So you're really matching individuals to their role, and then you're matching teams together based on those behaviors. And when you get that right, you can really accomplish a lot more. So that's it. I know I probably got a little bit repetitive there, but psychology and philosophy of making good decisions, that's the theme of the week. We all want to make good decisions, especially as we get past this crisis and we're ready to start again. We're having to make more decisions than ever before, and decisions about things we haven't really thought about before. So this is a really tough time. Anyways, I hope you're all safe and you're well. We'll talk again soon. I wish you a great week. Thank you.